All right, welcome to the Poker News. Well, this is a Poker News video with two guys I'm very excited to talk about. One, Mr. Phil Hellmuth, poker's most accomplished tournament player. What most people don't know is he's from Wisconsin, which is where I'm from, and it's kind of why we're here today, because we are also joined by Adam Murphy, who is running for Wisconsin State Senate, and he's going to have an election here in November, Wisconsin State Senate District 28, which is over in the Milwaukee land area, not Milwaukee per se, but in that neck of the woods. And we're going to talk today a little bit about online poker and why a state like Wisconsin should consider bringing in online poker. Guys, I want to say thanks a lot for joining me.
Hey, I appreciate
My pleasure. By the way, Adam, I love the picture in your background, but Chad, man, that's awesome. Wow, you've got it down. You got the dark stained door. Well, that looks pretty nice, your office.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of everything. Somewhere up right there is where I won my bracelet, back in 2013. I got that photo there. Some other fun stuff, but
nice.
So all right, let's just start right now. Wisconsin is a state that does not have online poker. It really hasn't considered online poker much. It's not a name you really hear too much in the online poker discussion. And as far as gaming goes, Wisconsin is a tribal state, right? All the casinos in Wisconsin are tribal based, but there are some big ones. You got Potawatomi over in Milwaukee, Oneida up in Green Bay, Ho Chunk in Wisconsin Dells, and other places throughout the state. A couple of them have had poker rooms before. Obviously, with the pandemic and stuff going on right now, there is no live poker, which is another good reason to be talking about online poker, because elsewhere throughout the country, you do have casinos who are benefiting from the online poker leg of their operations, if you will. So let's start real quick with Adam. Adam, can you just tell the listeners a little bit more about yourself? And I mentioned you're running for office, but give us the lowdown on that.
Sure. I own a software company. I have for almost 20 years now. And been fortunate enough to be in a position where I decided to try to actually make a little bit bigger impact. The whole poker thing, well, here, I'll throw this out here. Phil, you might remember this. There you go. So this is
what year was that?
And signed. You're on there. Mark Safe's on there. Scott Johnson.
That's my signature.
The Grinder.
That's legit.
So when poker became big on TV and really started out, so WPT, of course, and obviously an unfortunate loss of Mike Sexton a couple days ago. But it really caught my attention. It caught my wife's attention, my wife, Tanya. And we were kind of regulars in Vegas and saw this Camp Hellmuth thing. And, back then, I don't know, you maybe only had 3, 4, 5 bracelets, whatever it might have been, 2006.
I still had like 9, but yeah.
9?
Continue.
Okay, I apologize. Actually, that's true, because I've got the sunglasses from that event where you had just won your 10th, now that I think about it. So we went out, and it was just fun, right? It was Phil. It was all of these names of all these guys on TV, that have won millions, and then there's us. I play a little craps. There you go. And we had just an amazing time with it. And we did another one, and then Camp Hellmuth merged or got bought out with WSOP Academy, and we did some of those, and we were actually investors with that. And so we had a little bit of a lull of playing poker, but hey, I know Phil's won a little bit, from Wisconsin, but I've got like 100,000. That's not bad for an amateur. So anyway. One of my favorite stories from the online world, though, is that Tanya won a $26 satellite into a $2,000 event at the WSOP. She took that $2,000, did a super satellite, won her way into the main event. So she played in the main event for $26 in 3.5 days. Unfortunately, she just
awesome.
Missed money. But what a cool experience. And obviously, everything got shut down as far as online, and it hurt the poker world. Then we've seen things really kind of come back. I've been out at the World Series in the last couple of years, and we've seen 7,000 to 8,000 people in the main event. You mentioned Potawatomi; they've now got 2 WSOP circuit events. So there's a tremendous amount going on, and it's really awesome to see the poker world coming, really exploding again.
Well, I want to ask Phil too. Phil, obviously you are a very busy man. I know you were just down in Mexico playing the World Series of Poker, but you still took time to chat with me and Adam about, what we're talking about here today is just online poker, why states should be considering it, and especially a state like Wisconsin, obviously must mean a little bit to you.
I mean, listen, I mean, I grew up in Madison, Wisconsin, and, we played a game called Sheep's Head. I mean, nobody listening to this podcast knows, maybe some people in Iowa, Sheep's Head, which is like a German variation. And we played hearts and spades and all these games. And I think Wisconsin, like many states in the north of the U.S., it gets cold, and what are you going to do? You can have some drinks, but, and so I just think card games are very popular. And then, of course, Hold'em started in Texas and in Southern. But to me, I flew, and I paid $20,000 for my charter jet to go down to Mexico because it's during a pandemic. I flew back commercial. But to fly down there, I just wanted to be. But why do I have to leave the United States of America to play World Series of Poker tournaments, for a month? And then not only that, Chad, why do I have to leave my home, July 1st through the end of July to play World Series of Poker tournaments where you had to be in New Jersey or you had to be in Nevada? So I couldn't play in California. I couldn't have played in Wisconsin. There's only 2 states you could have played in July, and 0 states you could play in if you're doing it right, if you're following the rules, which I do. And so, it just seems ridiculous. Now, I will tell you this too, as far as online poker goes, when the pandemic started, Chad, I was playing once every 10 days. That's once every 10 days with my friends. That was my average. And, when we were all in town, we'd play once a week, sometimes twice a week, but then people are scattered for a couple months. And so what started is we started playing World Series of Poker. We started playing poker every day, high stakes cash games. And we literally played 5 days a week. So I went from once every 10 days, and no one had to leave their house. We could start at 10 p.m. and play till 1 or 2 in the morning and get tons of hands in and compete against each other and have fun. But why do I have to go to a free site with my friends and write down all the numbers of the wins and losses, And I joined 4 different poker games, all on the same app, free app, where we're paying, $100, $200 a month. It doesn't cost any money. None of my games are raked. But why can't I just sit down and play 100, 200, or some of these high stakes games, or some games that I like? I kind of like practicing Omaha 8 or better limit. Right. And I just can't do it. Yeah. And so, to me, this is just it's a real crime. And the number of people that played online poker, yeah, sure, we were way up, and then it went illegal. And during the pandemic, it spiked way up. And I'm reading stories all over the internet, people who hadn't played for 5 years, who hadn't played for 7 years, and they're just playing a ton of hours now, and they're enjoying our game. And right. Yeah, it makes absolute sense for this to be legalized.
And one of the pitfalls right now, you mentioned a lot of people are playing. I know a lot of people from around the country, even here in Wisconsin, who are playing online poker right now, but they're having to do it in offshore sites, black market sites where there's no protection, there's no consumer protection, there's no recourse if things go bad or if they get screwed over. And, I think that's one of the things that politicians should keep in mind, is that there are protections when it is legalized and regulated. Adam, I know you're aware of this, and if you do get into office, do you think looking at some sort of online poker legislation in Wisconsin is something that appeals to you?
I think what we're going to have to do in Wisconsin, when you look at the state constitution, and I actually spent some time with it, the reason that we've only got tribal casinos is that the state constitution for Wisconsin actually outlaws gambling. So we're going to have to spend a little bit more time and actually adjust the constitution if we want to do it, to have online. Now, I'd also love to delve into things like sports betting, which I don't remember, since it's been legalized a couple of years ago. I forget how many states have legalized it, or in some format. I think it's close to 40. And that could be in the Potawatomis and stuff like that easily enough. The online thing is just going to be a little bit more challenging because we'd need to actually legalize it at the state level, whereas they've allowed the Indian nations to be able to
Adam, let me say one thing. Taxation, right? Now that's great for politicians. No one minds being taxed for playing online poker. The sites don't mind. Nobody minds. It just puts more money into the state of Wisconsin's pocket. And Illinois, which is my a really great friend of mine is now governor there, J.B. Pritzker. And I haven't teased him yet, but he did get, sports betting legalized in Illinois, but not poker yet. And so, but I think with the wave of sports betting being legalized in all of these different states, that, poker should be, there's more skill in poker than sports betting. That's 100% true, can be proven easily. So I'd like to see if there's going to be a mandate for sports betting, poker should be right alongside that. And also, Adam, as much as it really, uneducated people want to say that poker is gambling, and there's an element of money and then there's an element of chance. Sure. If you play against 5 great players for 2 weeks, you will never win. So this line between poker and gambling is always been a little bit, and too many people are too stupid, like these federal judges, to say poker's all luck, and I'm like, well, that guy's never played before. I would smoke him. I feel like calling him up and saying, listen, let's play 50 days in a row. If you win 10, then congratulations. I'll admit it's luck, but good luck beating me 10 days,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we've learned that lesson just from watching television, right? You've seen yourself, Ganu Negreanu, Sfandiari, player after player after player that just continues to succeed. And if it were random, it would be a craps game. You wouldn't have that.
What do you guys think are some of the challenges why, a state like Wisconsin isn't being more proactive about it? Adam, I know you mentioned that it's in the state constitution, and that would obviously take a lot of work. And we know that the wheels of bureaucracy turn really slow at times. But it would seem to me you do have Iowa and Illinois authorizing sports betting. You have Michigan, who did pass online poker legislation and is primed to ramp that up. And you would think that, given that Wisconsin is neighbors to all those states, that they would want a piece of that pie, so to speak, or that they would want to get on board. And they could take an example out of a place like Michigan that is also a tribal casino state for the most part. They do have some properties in Detroit and what have you, but I could see like a Firekeepers casino in Michigan. There's no reason that they couldn't look at that as a blueprint and say, all right, the groundwork is there, let's implement this. But there just doesn't even seem to be much talk about it, especially here in
Chad,
Wisconsin.
the problem is we have some people on the far right that, that are very religious, and they're like, oh, this is gambling, and yet they will go and play poker with their friends in their free time. And then there's those, and it's just the sensationalized stories that come along. You see 10,000 poker players, and then 1 or 2 of them are, or maybe 50 are compulsive gamblers, and 1 or 2 do something wrong, and they're like, well, online poker is the reason that this guy held up a Brinks truck. And I'm like, that's a really tough connection to make. And so I really think that poker hasn't been framed in the right way. Adam, I don't know what your thoughts are.
And you're right. When you look at poker, you think old school, right? It's the back room, the cigars, the guns, right? You've read the stories of the things that Doyle had to go through when he was playing back in the circuit 50 years ago. So that's very much in people's minds. As far as Wisconsin specifically, yeah, we're kind of conservative in that general theme. We talked a little bit marijuana legalization. Wisconsin's one of only 8 states that has absolutely nothing on the books and absolutely nothing that they're even considering. We're behind, Alabama, for Pete's sakes. So that's part of the challenge. But Phil's absolutely right. There's a perception of gambling and I think old school of poker of it being this dangerous, risky scenario. And especially when you're talking online, it's not anymore, as long as we've done it legally and you've done it safely and it's got all the protections in place. And that's now been proven to be the case. Phil, you just played in the World Series of Poker online. How many players were there?
Chad, how many people did we have in some of those tournaments? 3, 4, 5, 6,000. I know that we had 34,000 players.
Wow.
34,000 players in the last tournament I played in, $100 buy-in, where they had multiple first days, 34,000 players. That's outside the U.S.
Right.
And I don't know do you know what, Chad, the big number was inside the U.S.?
Yeah, I think
It was only 2 states.
Yeah, it was only 2 states, and I think the biggest turnout was around 22 or 2,400, which was great for a 2-state number. That was great. But if you were to add in, even 30 of the 50 states, that number would be absolutely massive. It would be rivaling the GG poker
Yeah.
portion.
Just look at the numbers we have of people during the regular World Series of Poker. We had an event that had, 25,000, 30,000 players in it, right? And that's a physical tournament. Now, imagine if we're in every state in the U.S. and all those fringe players that didn't want to fly to Vegas, but didn't mind putting $200 or $500 up to play in a tournament, were able to play and have a chance to win, a $20 million prize pool or whatever, $10 million prize pool. And so I just think the numbers would be just off the charts. We may end up with 100,000 players within the U.S. in a World Series of Poker tournament. And so it's kind of ridiculous.
Before Black Friday, what was the biggest main event was 8,000, 8,800, something along those lines. And that's 10 years ago now. Yeah, the opportunity is absolutely tremendous. I think as a poker player, I think it'd be a riot.
Right. And, as far as the argument about how poker is perceived, I certainly don't disagree. It's something we run into every day. For a state like Wisconsin, Phil, you are a great spokesperson for it because, if they want to say that it's just gambling, obviously you are a hometown Madison boy. You own, the record for most World Series of Poker bracelets. You have all the titles, all the accomplishments, and you've been doing this now for a very long time. If it was just pure gambling, that wouldn't be the case. So
yeah, Chad, I was playing in games. I was playing in very small stakes games back in 1985 in Madison, 85, 86, 87, 88, and I lived in Madison until around 1993. And the only reason we left is my wife matched at Stanford, and it's pretty nice out here. Yeah. But I played a lot of poker. I never saw anybody pull out a gun. I never saw any violence. I didn't see any of this. People are talking about, oh, well, there's compulsive gamblers. Come on, and the skill factor is huge. And in poker you can't win every day, but you can still win 60, 70% of the time. And that's going to add up to a nice living. So I saw no violence. I played a ton in Wisconsin, in bars, people's houses, all over, from the University of Wisconsin and Madison to Green Bay, all over the state of Wisconsin. We had games in La Crosse, and I met actually a very cool group of people through that, and very divergent and wide.
What do you think if there are people from Wisconsin or other states that might not have the online gaming, they want to do what they can? We used to have like the PPA, the Poker Players Association, or Alliance rather. That's no longer in existence. So it might feel intimidating for a player to say, what could I do? But in your guys' opinion, is there something that poker players or people sports bettors who want to encourage their states to pursue that they should be doing?
Well, for me, it's obviously getting involved in politics. That's been very straightforward, and I've tried to present that with everything that we did. We hooked up with Phil earlier, and which is terrific. He's helping us out with a fundraiser coming up, which is also fabulous. So I think part of it is just that willingness to contact your representative, right? To get out there and say something. But the more that we play, and hopefully Wisconsin will start to be influenced by some of the other states. You look at the World Series of Poker and you look at what Caesars has done with it and taking it online, at least in 2 states, like you said, Michigan, and I think Pennsylvania had legalized it or was working on it as well. That sort of thing will start to snowball. Wisconsin tends to be a little bit behind the snowball is, I think, part of the problem.
And Phil, what about you? Any recommendations to players out there?
I'll say this, Chad, that's frustrating. Yeah, I think you do have to reach out to your Congress. But I've been on I've been right there as far as knowing what's going on. And, all we had to do, we had companies who were floating at $10 billion. All they had to do was spend around $40,000 on the specific committee. Okay. Yep. And we would have had legalized poker. That was it. And because they didn't spend the $40,000. And so it sucks to me that and listen, USA is the best country in the world. I think, I still believe that we're still the best. Everybody wants to be here. You can still go rags to riches, maybe the pass harder, but I will tell you that, as great as we are, it kind of sucks that people, that you can have coalitions from the far right saying, oh, but we don't want poker. oh, but we don't mind. You guys give us money. We don't mind if you'll have a greyhound horse races, greyhound races and horse races. We don't mind that so much. It's just a bunch of BS, you know, and it's kind of frustrating that we kind of got caught in the crossfire of gambling. But I can tell you, we were, you know, this close to never having to worry about online poker being legalized in the U.S. again. And they blew it that time. And instead, someone who was running for president, no one knows the story, he was thinking about running for president, and someone said, well, I'll donate $100,000 to your campaign if you add this rider on to get rid of online poker. Throws a rider on the last minute and just messes up online poker, you know, for the whole United States of America. And the problem is there's no champions. I mean, like, if I talk about legalizing online poker, everybody's like, yeah, he's incentivized. I'm not going to listen to him. And so,
Even
you know,
when I
all
started,
the random people that love online poker, their voice isn't big enough.
yeah,
And so
when
it's
I
just
start,
like, it just sucks that, you know, and I'm not, Adam, I'm neither Democrat nor Republican. I wrote 4 or 5 papers. Millions of people read about presidential politics in 2016 and my observations. And, but I did think that, you know, Trump, who tried to legalize online poker in 96, 97, I thought, wow, maybe this will happen. But, you know, again, I'm neither Democrat or Republican. Don't try to pigeonhole me.
when I started to talk about it and was interacting with Phil on Twitter, some of the responses from people were like, why is this a big deal? You know, why are you spending your time on this when obviously we've got huge issues, right? Black Lives Matter, racism, healthcare, COVID, everything else going on in the world. They're like, why do you care about online poker? I'm like, well, there are little things that politicians can do too, right? Online poker, sports betting, those should be really easy. They generate revenue and they're things that people want, whether they're Democrats or Republicans, right? So, but it kind of made me laugh when that was the response from people. It's like,
You know, Adam, people, the English in England are laughing at us. They laugh at us because this is a country that's been around a lot longer than we have, and they refuse to have their liberties taken away from them. That means if they want to gamble, they gamble. If they want to, you know, if they want to drink, they drink. And so the English kind of laugh at us. They're like, well, look at our younger brother there. They can't even let people play online poker. It's ridiculous. A lot of countries are like, what's wrong with the USA? And it's frankly frustrating.
It's a multi-billion-dollar industry worldwide. You know, it's played all over Europe, Canada, Mexico, and the Far East, and here we are. So Phil's absolutely right. I think this is a liberty thing, and should be really simple to do.
Well, maybe we need to get a hashtag. You know, poker liberty. Our liberty is. I don't know. What do you think, Adam? Just we got something, Chad. Something that rolls off the mouth.
I think so. Yeah.
Poker and liberty.
We can come up with better than what we've got for legalizing it in Wisconsin.
Hashtag poker liberty.
There you go.
Liberty.
I like it.
There you go. Well, jump on Twitter and use that hashtag, and maybe the 3 of us can keep an eye out for it. Guys, I want to say thanks for taking the time. And those listening, if you want to learn more about Adam and other things that he stands for, visit Murphy for WI, which is Wisconsin. So murphyforwi.com. And Adam, good luck to you come November.
Adam, I gave you $2,000, right, for your campaign?
You did. Phil did the max, and he's the prize in our upcoming fundraiser. You get to play heads up against Phil and have a 10-minute Zoom call afterwards so he can tell you what you did wrong.
Well, and
awesome opportunity.
Even if you beat me, I'll tell you what you did wrong.
Right. Even if you beat him, especially if you beat him, they'll tell you what you did wrong. But nobody gets
How
that.
could you call half your stack with 7-6 suited? That was not a good play.
Right. No, it's. I think that's a really cool opportunity. So I've appreciated Phil's both the financial as well as his willingness to give of his time is so cool. And I really think so. We're doing a $100 fundraiser this weekend, and I think that you know, for a chance to play with Phil, that's a hell of a deal. I appreciate it.
I don't disagree. I encourage everybody to check it out. And then for more details on that, you can follow at Murphy4WI on Twitter. I'm also putting out the details on my own personal Twitter at Chad A. Holloway. No problem. And guys, like I said, thanks for taking the time. And hopefully this will be just the start, the first conversation or first step into maybe pushing Wisconsin into some sort of online gaming movement. And maybe other states will take notice as well.